everyone. Let's continue our interlinking conversation. So I pulled up a site. This site doesn't have any SEO on it. At least that's what it looks like to me. And let's talk about store locations. So a lot of times in local, we have different store locations or location pages for a plumbing service or roofing service. So a lot of times what people are asking me is, how do you interlink with all the different locations? So let's take a look. They have stores in Austin, Cedar Park, Georgetown, Pflugerville, South Austin, and Houston. Now, with interlinking, you can interlink a site many different ways. There's no one way or only a right way, or what we're only trying to do is support our location pages. That's all we're doing. Now, you can support your location pages with any of the pages you already have on your website, or you can use blog posts, or you can use new content. It really doesn't matter. What I like to do when I start working with a site for the first time is I usually interlink with what they already have before I add new content. So these store locations, first of all, these are horrible location pages. Don't take any advice from the site, but they have a Cedar Park location. The first thing I do when I look at location pages is I actually use other location pages to support location pages. Now, some people don't like to do it this way, and really interlinking is however you want it to be, as long as you are supporting your important pages. First thing I do is look at the different cities that they have, and I pinpoint the largest city. The largest cities would be Austin, South Austin, and Houston. And technically, South Austin would be much smaller because they're just targeting the south of that territory. And then you have Houston. Houston is the largest city that they are targeting. The reason why I look at that is because I use the smaller cities to support the larger cities. So let me explain that. On the Cedar Park page, this is a much smaller city or suburban type area. I would use the content on this page. Of course, they have very little to link back to the Austin store. So on the Cedar Park store, you're linking back to the Austin store. The Cedar Park then becomes the supporting page of the Austin store. I would then use Georgetown to link back to the Austin store because I'm supporting the Austin store more because it's the larger city, having larger amounts of traffic and harder to rank if we're looking at small cities versus really large cities. So on the Georgetown page, somewhere within this content, I would link back to the Austin page to support that page. Now on the Pflugerville page, you can also use that to support the Austin page. So now I have 3 supporting pages to the Austin page. Houston is much larger than Austin. So typically, I would use the Austin page to then support the Houston page. Now, all I'm doing is talking about supporting pages and how you can use your existing locations to support existing locations. And typically, I set it up with supporting the largest cities the most. Now, Cedar Park, I still support that page, but I would use a blog post or a service page to support it. You want your interlinking to make sense. So typically when I'm dealing with multiple locations, I use the smaller cities to support the larger cities. And I make sure that the larger cities have more supporting pages than the smaller cities. Now, the smaller cities still need support. Typically, I get that support from blog posts or related type content on the site that I can use to link back to the smaller cities. Remember, City Park is a supporting page of Austin. So every time I support by anchoring back to the Cedar Park page, I'm automatically supporting the Austin page. And I have the Austin page supporting the Houston page if you want to. Or if you hate that idea for whatever reason, You can use all of your blog posts to support all of the different cities if you want, but sometimes you have to make do with what the site already has. Sometimes we get sites from clients and I can't add a lot of new content and I have to use what is already there. So if you are in that position, use your service pages to support your other service pages and set it up so that the largest traffic areas are being supported by the smallest traffic areas, or to say it another way, the largest territories or the largest cities are being supported by the smaller cities. If you want to even take it a step further, you can then interlink all of these pages together if you wanted to, and make sure they're all linking in one big circle. People like to do a lot of different things with interlinking. I like to keep it as easy as possible. And a lot of times I won't interlink all of the cities together in a big circle, because if you go to add another location, it then becomes a little bit more difficult to add the new location and to go ahead and link it all into this big circle silo that you're making. So people can really overcomplicate these silos, but I want you to think of, instead of thinking of silos, think in terms of how can I support this page, period. You need supporting content for all of your landing pages. So how are you going to support the Cedar Park page? You can use other pieces of content. I used the smaller cities to link to the larger cities, and then I used Austin to link to the largest city, Houston. Every time I support the Austin page with supporting content, the Cedar Park page, the Georgetown page, all of it flows to the Austin page and then flows to the Houston page. So it's supporting the larger cities heavier than the smaller cities. But every time you support the smaller cities, you're then passing on more support to the larger city. Now, that sounds a little more complicated than what it truly is. Just think in terms of supporting content and throw out the idea of making it extremely complicated and linking all over the place. The Cedar Park page, I'm linking to the Austin page. That's only one outgoing link within the content. I'm not counting navigations and sidebars and everything else that you have going on to the site. You can do the same thing for your service pages. They happen to have a few service pages. You have carpet cleaning, commercial cleaning, multifamily, and residential flooring. Most of the time, I use my service pages of the smaller services to support the largest revenue producing service for the client. So if they tell me I make a lot of money on commercial flooring, I will usually support the commercial flooring page. Or if it's not about revenue and money, you can look at traffic. Which term gets the most amount of traffic, and support using a silo or supporting pages with that in mind. So let's say the residential flooring gets the most amount of traffic. You can use the multifamily page, the commercial page, and the carpet cleaning page if you wanted to all link and support the residential flooring page. Think in terms of just supporting very important pages. They have carpet, vinyl, laminate, hardwood, tile as different flooring products. You can use all of these products to support the product that brings in the most amount of revenue, or the product that brings in the most amount of website traffic, or the product that brings in the most amount of leads. Which is the most important page for flooring products to you? You can then use the smaller service pages, like let's say vinyl. Let's pretend vinyl is a very small service. You could use vinyl to then support the carpet page if you wanted to. Think in terms of only supporting pages. And if you later wanted to support the vinyl page because it's still an important landing page, you can use new content to do that. Or you can look for other pages on their site that might be able to support vinyl or make sense to support the vinyl page. So Whenever I talk about interlinking, everyone will jump to the conclusion about adding a whole bunch of new content. What I'm showing you here is how to use the content you currently have before you start adding new content to the site. Of course, we always add new content, but there are ways to interlink the site, like the ones I just mentioned, so that you're able to use aged content they already have on the site and push rankings before you even begin to add the new content. I hope this makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know in the comments, and I'll find another site or another way to talk about interlinking and supporting pages.